I'm sure many of you have heard of Black Mirror or seen it. It's a TV show. It's on Netflix. If not, I like to think of it as a modern-day Twilight Zone. It focuses on future scenarios in which technology, specifically screen media or screen time, causes great psychological suffering. In one episode entitled Nosedive, it focuses on a society obsessed with social media. In Nosedive, everyone has a little device which they use to rate each other after every interaction. And it looks like that. And so people get star ratings. And the main character, Lacey, right there in the dress, is obsessed with getting a higher score because people with higher scores are treated better by society. They're more popular, they can get better jobs, they're more respected, they can even get better housing, which is actually why she wants a better score, because she wants the apartment of her dreams, basically. But the downside is that this makes everyone superficial. It's obviously a play on our society and Instagram or other social media, because we're trying to gain approval from everyone else. The thought is discomforting, but what if Black Mirror wasn't so far from our future? It's really not so inconceivable when, according to a 2017 King's University report, people touch their smartphones 2,617 times per day. But it's not just social media that's the problem. Screen time in general is an ever-present problem in our society because of advancing technology. And you've probably seen this firsthand. Maybe in the upcoming generation, younger cousins, siblings, maybe at Thanksgiving, and you see your younger family members on iPads or phones, and they're just so absorbed, and maybe their parents tell them to get off, but they get really angry. But it's not just children who are vulnerable to the intoxicating effects of iPads, smartphones, and TVs. I'm sure you've seen couples at restaurants who don't look at each other and are both just looking down, scrolling through Twitter or Instagram, or you yourself have felt less productive because of the time spent in front of a screen. Now, our group has researched this topic extensively, drawing upon many of the recent academic reports and studies, as well as feeling the effects ourselves. Because of this, we found that all of us should refrain from screen time whenever it interferes with our well-being. Whether that's before bed, when we're trying to spend time with friends or family, or trying to do schoolwork. Today, we're going to talk to you about the effects of screen time on our mental and physical health, future generations. We will provide you with techniques in order to mitigate the negative effects. Nowadays, if you walk down the street, you'll notice that you see everyone looking down. It's like that. Why? Because cell phones have taken over our society. But it's not just that. Screens in general are affecting us.
One of the biggest things today is cell phones. Like Natalie said, we spend more time on our phones than we do doing other things like schoolwork, and spending time with family. According to the West Virginia Education Association, 8 to 17 years for a person, they spend 7 hours a day on their phone. For adults who range from 18 to 34 years, spend 9 hours. And according to another study at the University of Albany, New York, young adults from the ages of 18 to 24 spend even more time than 9 hours on their cell phones. Take Coachella, for instance. This is the video. As you can see, someone's walking down, just videotaping, and everyone's on their phone, either taking pictures or being on social media, or just a big distraction. Yes. I'm sorry. So like I said, cell phones are a big distraction. And for instance, when I was, a couple of years ago, I was driving down 580 towards Oakland, and my phone was in my pocket, and my phone buzzed, and without hesitation, I looked down. Within that split second, I hit a car right in front of me. My airbag blew up right in my face. Luckily for me, the car in front of me kept on going. It didn't seem damaged, but my car was. Yeah, as a younger adult back then, that was a really big distraction to me. So the big question is, or one of the big questions is, what are we teaching our kids by putting a screen or cell phone to distract them from being upset? I work at a school, a middle school, and I see, every time I walk down the halls, I see kids always on their phone. They always have their heads down, looking down at their phones. They're rarely talking to their friends, just because they're distracted by their phones. I see kids out in the classroom because they got kicked out because of their attitude, or because the teacher was asking them to put away their phones when they didn't want to. Plus, middle school is that weird age where, adolescence and hormones and all that stuff. I grew up in the generation where kids would want to go outside and play instead of stay inside and watch TV. And that was the generation where we were, like, cell phones were just getting introduced, and we as a society didn't really know how big of an impact it would be, let alone a big distraction. So cell phones are handy sometimes. For instance, you could be doing research on a group persuasive speech, but that one notification can put you down the rabbit hole, which is called social media. You tell yourself you're going to be on Twitter or Instagram for 1 minute, but that minute turns into hours, and then you find yourself at 1 a.m. deep stalking a celebrity that you didn't even know existed. According to NPR in 2017, teens are more likely to get depressed and have anxiety just from being on their phones. They also found out that teens can have suicidal thoughts from social media and low self-esteem and peer pressure from their friends and whatnot. Another personal story that I have is, we rely on our cell phones way too much. And personal story for me is that I was hanging out with my friends one day, and I noticed that my phone was at 3%. I forgot my portable charger and my cord, and I couldn't charge my phone because we were out. So I spent half the day just bored out of my mind because my friends were on their phones, but I didn't have anything to do. And I was just beating myself up the whole day because, my phone was nearly dead, and, I needed that 3% to, just in case of an emergency and whatnot. My mood completely changed, basically, from my phone being on 3%. So the main question is, how do we get unconnected from our phones, basically? Isaac will be talking about and explaining ways to cut down on our screen time and be more healthy.
Well, the first step in any problem, is knowing that you have a problem. As explained by George and Natalie, the problem exists in all walks of life, including children, teenagers, and young adults like ourselves, and maybe even our parents. So to tackle this issue that's plaguing the minds of just about everybody, I have devised a plan to help you curb your screen time. So for starters, we should each know for how long we use our phone. There are certain apps on the market that can help keep track of your phone usage, such as Freedom, Screen Time, and many others. All you have to do is just go on the app market and search up screen time, and I'm sure you'll find one to your liking. So Apple devices now running iOS 12 and above have a built-in screen time app located in the settings, as you can see right there. And most of us have Apple phones nowadays, so all you have to do is go to settings, and then it'll show you all the statistics and how you manage time on your phone. So by keeping track of how you manage time on your phone, like, it will cause us to realize the severity of the issue. Like George said, an average adult uses it like around 9 hours or 12, up to 12 hours too. So we can all tailor it to our own needs depending on how bad it is. I myself use the Apple Screen Time app, and it gives me weekly notifications of how long I've been using it, so I find it really useful, and it's very eye-opening and caused me to change some of my habits, such as like mindless scrolling and playing games that lead to no real end. Well, now that we've kept a tab on our time, we should be aware of how much time we spend on our phones. So, but being mindful is another way to keep yourself in check. So when picking up your phone, ask yourself, why are you picking it up? If it's only to look at memes or funny cat videos online, I suggest you pick up on a new hobby. Or do your homework, do something productive. And according to Anita Schroeder from the National Alliance of Mental Health, she states that by using mindfulness, you can identify if you're trying to avoid negative feelings or a necessary task, or whether you're truly enjoying your digital experience. This exercise can help with getting in touch with your emotions and improve purposeful decision making around screen use time. So lastly, we should minimize distractions by turning off your notifications, and also by deleting social media for at least a week. Your notifications act as a trigger, and because they are constantly going off, whether it's an email or a text from your friends. Turning them off will stop you from checking your social media and phone, and ultimately help you live in the moment more, so you don't turn into mindless zombies. Deleting social media such as Instagram and Snapchat can help you sleep better and reduce depression and anxiety. But don't take my word for it. According to the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology, a new study concludes that there is in fact a causal link between the use of social media and negative effects on well-being, primarily depression and loneliness. So try it out. So using social media at night decreases sleep quality because phones emit blue light, which causes you to produce less melatonin, which is responsible for regulating your sleep cycle, also known as your circadian rhythm. So, and when using social media, it can lower our self-esteem because people will likely compare themselves to others and ask themselves how they're doing in life compared to others, and supposedly their picture perfect world. So by taking time off your phone, becoming more mindful, and minimizing distractions by turning off your notifications can help you use your phone less and become a more productive person. If you follow these easy and simple steps to using your phone, I assure you that you'll feel a whole lot better and see things in a new light. Isaiah can now help paint that picture for you.
Sleepbetter.org states, a team at Utrecht University in the Netherlands say the sleep disorder they call sleep procrastination is just a poor choice. Sleep procrastination happens when you know it's time to go to sleep, you're tired, but you have to watch another episode of your favorite program or read one more chapter in your book. This is something that I faced throughout most of my life. I would stay on my phone until 2 a.m. and then I would go to bed at 6 a.m. and then I would wake up, and throughout the day I would just want to go back home and sleep, and then this was just an endless cycle. But when I took the advice of Isaac with the apps, I ended up managing my time wisely and got better sleep because I managed my time from my phone, and I was able to not procrastinate throughout the day. Putting the phone down allows us to do better things throughout our lives. According to GreaterGoodBerkeley.edu, MIT psychologist Sherry Turkle, author of the new book Reclaiming Conversation, states, we lose our ability to have deeper, more spontaneous conversations with others, changing the nature of our social interactions in an alarming way. Instead of us living our lives throughout others and watching them live theirs, we should live ours. For example, kids, instead of watching them be on YouTube all day and do all that, they could play board games together and actually interact with one another. You could have quality time with your family, take time out of your day to walk your dog. And teenagers, instead of staying on their phones all day, they can go to the beach and play volleyball and get some fresh air. Not knowing what's on the internet is a good thing, but also phones aren't always that bad. For example, you could listen to your music on your phone, but it's all about managing your time wisely. Because when you're constantly on your phone, you end up procrastinating and not doing the right thing. When we put down our phones, we allow ourselves to connect with our society better and have better interactions with one another.
Now, in conclusion, one of the biggest problems of our time that we have to face is the excessive use of screen time. If we do not attempt to mitigate these problems, we will suffer. We will become more depressed, stressed, and lonely than we already are. And what is more, our generation's kids, or even our own future kids, will pay. Think of this: what happens when we replace parent-child interactions with a TV screen? Like when instead of a babysitter, it's a technique so your child won't cry and you place the child in front of the TV. Well, it will result in a generation of people who are not properly bonded, who become depressed and lonely later in life. But it doesn't have to be this way. We can all start today. We can try putting down our phone in between classes, maybe saying hi to each other, smiling, maybe not letting Netflix autoplay the next Stranger Things episode, or even Black Mirror for that matter. But most of all, let's be mindful of our use. Awareness itself is progress. And with that, we can minimize our time because we're aware of it, and we can open ourselves up to the unconnected world. Together, through all of this, we can begin to set the right examples for the future, and in turn mitigate those negative effects we've been talking about. And I'm not asking you to completely give it up. Not at all. I mean, I understand. I love my iPhone, but it's just much better when you're not on it all the time. And it's just a matter of being aware and reducing the unnecessary time in order to enrich your life more. Now, at the beginning, I told you about a Black Mirror episode entitled Nosedive. However, I never told you the ending of that. Lacey, the main character, in an effort to achieve her perfect score, drops her 4.2 star rating out of 5 stars to nothing. At one point, she had been so obsessed, she would practice a perfect smile or perfect laugh in her bathroom mirror. And ultimately, of course, she gets tired of this. She gets tired of trying to be perfect. So she starts to speak her mind and do whatever she wants, and actually gets thrown in jail. Surprisingly, she's much happier in jail because she doesn't have to worry anymore. She does not have to worry about pleasing others or making her life seem perfect. Do we want to live in a world where we'd rather be shunned by society, better as an outcast and part of a community, so absorbed in the superficiality of screens and social media? Or would we rather live freely, without screens in the way of our well-being and ability to experience life? I'm going to leave you with a couple questions before I conclude. Think of this. Do we want to see the world through a screen? What happens then when the screen turns blank and all we are left with is a black mirror?